Yeah, our fall segment officially kicks off tomorrow with our 20-hour week beginning, where we can really get a little more in depth other than just some group work and strength and conditioning that we've been doing for about the last month. This past month has been great, foundationally, just being able to get a good baseline in the weight room especially, and being able to progress slowly over these last 30 days, which was so important for our guys because a lot of them played summer ball, all the way up until August anyways. So there really wasn't a need to rush right into our fall training. But now that we're here at the end of September, October is going to be a great month for the team into half of November, where we'll get to do a lot of, more of a competition type setting, where we'll really be able to, take that next step from a baseball training standpoint. So it's been great. Guys are all in. They were all in last fall as well. It's a fun bunch to be around. Everybody's a year older, had another birthday, a lot better. And the newcomers have blended in and seem to make some friendships and build some strong relationships already pretty well in a short amount of time. So far so good. It's usually the fall is, because everybody plays and everything is going well. But we're a long way away from identifying any roles or anything like that. But right now it's about growth, it's about improvement, and the guys have been all in on that, and been fun to watch them get out here and compete to get better every day.
So how much is this trying to build off of last year? How much is it just wiping the slate clean and saying it's a completely new year? What happened last year doesn't matter.
No, I think it'd be foolish to say we didn't build some momentum for ourselves last year. We certainly did, but we finished the year not in Omaha. So, it still wasn't, while there were some bright spots like winning the ACC, it wasn't a year that ended in the World Series in Omaha. And I think for us as a program, we've got our goals set at the highest level, like most elite teams would, of winning a national championship. And if you don't achieve that but still finish in Omaha, it's still considered a really good year. And so we, that's kind of the standard. It always has been around here. But we want to build off of what we were able to do last year, be a championship program, but we want to advance. And we know how important it is to have that foundation in the fall, and why this time is so critical, because all the things that take place in June, there has to be that foundation in August and September and October and November.
With your two transfers you brought in from Wofford specifically, just what did you see out of those guys, and what are you kind of hoping to evaluate them for in this fall?
Yeah, Coach Bellinger does an awesome job in the simplistic genius of, the way he runs the pitching staff, and just demands 64% strikes at a minimum. And those guys, in terms of just competing to command the strike zone, they have always been really good at that. Matthew Marshall has been a strike thrower, in his entire career at Wofford, and Lucas Malstadt gives us an unconventional look. It's always tough to face guys that throw from down under and submarine, and he can do it and do it effectively, and had really good numbers. So when both those guys became available, they were two guys we wanted to jump on right away.
Last year, you had guys earn their way to do certain things, through the classroom or different ways. Same approach this year with this team, and how so far are guys taking to that?
Yeah, it's a staple. Been a staple for a long time now, dating back to the Michigan days. But yeah, that's more of a fighting entitlement thing, with more of a societal thing, a cultural thing. With this age group, and just wanting them to appreciate the things they get, but also understanding they don't hand out championship rings. You got to earn it, and so we just put in a variation of that with earning the facilities or gear or things like that, and just feeling like they worked for something, earned something, achieved something. And it's not an extended period of time, but it's usually the first 3 or 4 weeks of the fall segment.
How much do you think that when you do get in those tight moments, of those kind of things, and what kind of helps you later on in the year when you're trying to make postseason runs and things of that nature?
It's always something to fall back on. It's you can always fall back on your preparation and sink to the level of your preparation. And so if we have those foundational pillars in the culture that are just embedded into the, every brick and every mortar and the blood, sweat, tears, and some of those, shared language and shared mentality, then yeah, it's something to lean on for when the garbage hits the fan, because this is a sport, nobody goes undefeated in college baseball, and there's going to be rough patches, and there's easy to just look back last year and just look at how we started the whole season in basically a rough patch, and the guys had something to fall back on and trusted it and never stopped believing in it, and ultimately it allowed them to keep going forward and made them stronger because of it.
Will Taylor's never had a fall. I mean, what are you hoping to see from him, and what do you think he can gain from actually having a fall?
Yeah, I mean, you think about every athlete, usually, with the exception of your rare cases of guys who have been two-sport stars at the highest level, but everybody specializes usually at a younger age, usually at the high school age, and this is Will Taylor's first year ever specializing in baseball. And so yeah, I'm a huge proponent of young kids sports sampling and not specializing at a young age, and this interview could go on for hours if we started talking about that. But Will Taylor was an athlete first, as a football player, as a wrestler, as a baseball player, and it's all those things that have allowed him to to be the athlete, the dynamic, explosive player that he is on that field. And so now it's exciting for him for the first time in his life to have an actual fall segment where he can focus on baseball, and I think we're all excited to see how good he can get, and he's putting in the work and investing the time, and we all know it's going to pay dividends just because of the type of kid he is, how he was raised, the family he comes from. But excited for him and excited to see what he can do to lead this team this year.
What's his nickname?
Willie T is what most of us call him. I'm sure he's got a few more. But yeah, those will probably grow. But yeah, most everybody sticks with just Willie T.
Because in football they call him Maverick.
Maverick? Yeah,
Top
I like that. That's a good one too.
I guess Cam Canarella, do you experiment at all with him in the infield, or is he purely center field from here on out?
He jumped out to shortstop the other day, but he's found a home out in center field, and that's where he'll play. And he looks good out there. He's comfortable out there. He's a natural for a kid who's hadn't played much outfield. He's settled into that spot really, really well, and he's one of 3 players I've seen in 25 years that when the ball's hit, he can just put his head down, run to a spot, turn around, and catch it. That's tough to do as an outfielder, just be able to have that instinctive ability to run to a spot and catch the ball once you get that initial read. So I do think that's his position, and that's where he'll have a very long career at.
You got a lot of guys that are placing that infield. You got any idea who might be getting looks out there first?
Yeah, I mean, we're very lucky with a pair of grad transfers with Riley Bertram and Ben Blackwell, and Ben obviously was here a couple of years, but those two were as steady as it gets up the middle, very reliable. We set a goal last year to field 980. We fell short of that goal, but in doing so, we set a school record for fielding percentage at 977. And that had a lot to do with the stability of that infield and everybody being an upperclassman or a returning player. So with the plan with Blake Wright all along was to move back to the middle. That was going, we started talking about that, middle of last year, just because he's a captain and you want, leadership up the middle. So I think he's a candidate to move back to either spot up the middle. We've got a couple of grad transfers in that are very, very good defensive players as infielders as well, and we've got some returning players in Nolan Araki and Cooper Blauser that have made big strides, and then some newcomers that look really good too, like Jaron Purify, and obviously Jay Dillard is got great ball security, but we feel like we've got a lot of depth in the infield, especially at second, short, and third. So there's going to be a lot of competition for those 3 spots. Blake Wright will have one of them. We just haven't figured out the pieces yet.
I guess how much pitching depth do you feel like you have compared to last year, again, with the grad transfers coming in, and also some of the new guys?
We thought we had a lot of pitching depth last year, and then we got real injured real quick through those first 30 games, and we were very exposed. We lost a lot of games late, just being thin in the bullpen. So this year, going into the fall, the depth looks fantastic. We've got over 20 pitchers. We've got a lot of returning pitchers. We've got a lot of returning guys with stuff and command that are in year 2 with Coach Bellinger. And, as of right now, September, 28th, the pitching staff, again, looks to be a significant strength of this team with the guys that have come back that have starting experience, as well as guys who have been in high leverage situations in big games with the experience they got last year and in years past. So we'll certainly lean on that for sure. But again, everybody looks good in the fall, and everybody's happy in the fall because everybody plays. So we'll see how this shakes out. And one of the biggest threats for this team is as those roles get established and playing time gets cut in half. Much like it was last year, but how the guys continue to love the team more than they love their role, and really embrace the team, and that even though the ability to play everybody it's just not going to be the same. We'll be fair, but we just can't be equal when it comes to those kinds of things.
Is Billy Barlow full go coming into the fall?
Yeah, he is. He pitched a few days ago and looked great. He was throwing a turbo sinker on the mound. He was, I forget what his velo was, but it was firm, and it had a ton of movement on it. So he looks back to being in good form.
You talk about everybody being comfortable in their roles. I mean, how much more comfortable do you feel, having a second year now, having a year in the program, your culture having been established a little bit? Do you feel better about you guys being able to accept the culture and that type of unselfishness, I guess?
Yeah, no, I feel great, and I felt great last year. So, candidly, with just having been here, even though it was a long time ago, and the coaching staff, and having a couple guys come over from Michigan, and Coach Bellinger, I've obviously known for a long time, and then Coach Leggett coming back into the program, and it's just just some of the people in the community that got to reconnect with. I mean, Hennessy and I worked together 22 years ago, 21 and a half years ago. I mean, it was his first year, it was my first year, so it's just, it's just such a special, magical place that while the buildings and the facilities and everything the infrastructure has grown, that family community has stayed the same. So it didn't feel like, a fish out of water, or scrambling, and, it might have been scrambling to try to do a lot of things at once, but at least the feeling of stability and home and family all was good.
Do you feel questions? Nope. And do you feel like, again, the culture in terms of the shared language and all of that's more entrenched? The guys get like all the different pieces Will was talking about in terms of earning things, also how we speak, how we act.
Exactly.
That.
Yeah, that I think there's some familiarity with that. To the players' credit, last year I think they were very aware that the program had missed the postseason a couple of years, so they were hungry, thirsty, willing to do anything, and so they were all in, bought in from the start, which I will always talk about in terms of an appreciation for a group of guys that did not say we didn't sign up for this, and a coaching staff that did not say these aren't our guys, but everybody who embraced each other and ended up champions. But always in year 2, putting in those same fundamentals and those same foundations. It's not like we assume that these 20 new guys are just going to know. We put it in the same way, and that's where we lean on the guys who have been through it to not only grasp it at a deeper level, but also help teach it in the time that they're with each other on their own, and they're doing that. The leadership, we've got a returning captain in Blake Wright, and there'll be some other emerging leaders, and we'll see who those guys end up being. But so far, this has been a fun group to be around, and their buy-in and the way they've embraced these standards and the shared language and the shared mentality has been as good as can be expected.
Has that kind of surprised you at all in these first couple of years, especially I guess last year coming in? Like, how much uncertainty was there about their ability to kind of adapt to that culture and accept that you accepted them as your guys?
I think you don't know what you don't know, and you get here and you see on paper there's a lot of physical talent, and so you know that the foundation needs to be instilled in terms of running a program, and but the guys, again, it goes back to they have to want to embrace some things that may be the same, but some things that may be different. And that's where they were just really good. And we talked about that neck up, the mental skills that we were going to implement, and that's where I thought that they made huge strides of just being able to slow the game down, and whether it's buy into some of the breathing and meditation drills that we were doing, or the visualization and self-talk, just the down regulators to just get under control. It wasn't all, primal white knuckle, max rep, type stuff. It was some things that were very important to play this game at a high level, especially when you've got a packed house or big stage, bright lights, high stakes, and so they did a really good job with that.
Are there any players in particular you feel like have really benefited from that kind of like slowing things down, neck up approach that you just described?
I think the earlier that kids can start to learn that, the better. That's something that there's so many stressors on these kids. When I played and when a lot of people played, there wasn't social media, there wasn't Barstool, there wasn't, there wasn't anything that, and it wasn't, there wasn't as travel ball wasn't the way it is now. But there's just a lot of stressors that are out there, and these kids have a lot of distractions. And so, and there's a lot of things that can creep in that are outside of their control. And just the ability to just be able to lock in on the things that help them play better, help them perform at their best, and unlock their potential. I think there's I don't know of a starting age for that, of when kids could grasp that, but it should be early and it should be often. And our guys were, even though it was a little bit of a late start, being 18 to 22 for some of them, but it is beneficial nonetheless.
You mentioned Rocky and Blauser. Are there any other guys you saw in terms of their summer league stats and how they played that you're really excited to see in fall ball, to see if they can kind of continue to grow?
Yeah, Nate Hall had a great summer. Jack Crichton, there's plenty of guys that went off as freshmen last year and maybe were part-time players or didn't play, like Nolan and Cooper, that went off and had big summers. A couple of freshmen as well, pitchers as well. So no, we're excited to see how, now that we're going to turn up the heat a little bit tomorrow, and with the duration and the number of training days per week. So we're really excited to jump into this next segment and kind of take this next step of adding layers on top of this foundation.
Are there any ways that you think Tristan Smith is different just from last year to this year?
Yeah, any freshman that comes in and pitches in big games, it doesn't matter what the role is. The game sometimes can go 1,000 miles an hour. So for him to get the experience that he got as a true freshman, go to the Cape and put up awesome numbers, end up a second half All-Star in the Cape Cod League, I think he's absolutely one of those prime candidates for a breakout year. Probably be a guy that we'll look at moving from the bullpen back to the starting role, like he had some experience with a little bit last year, but he's gotten a lot better. He's got the right mindset. He's got the right demeanor, and he's very talented. So it'll be good to see him get out there and compete this fall and earn one of those positions.
With the season still a couple months away, how do you condition your arms for the season while also keeping them healthy and not overdoing it?
Yeah, so everybody's different. So every player, every pitcher on the team, Coach Bellinger has from the previous year, how many innings did they throw? What time frame did they pitch? Were they a guy that, like Ethan Darden, who didn't pitch much over the course of the summer, whereas a guy like Austin Gordon pitched in the Cape and then pitched in the Team USA trials. So it all depends on how many innings they accumulated last year, how long they pitched throughout the summer, and then we'll create an individual program for them within the framework of the team. But they've all got a weekly program where some of them have, they might throw on a progression where they let it rip more often, and other guys are just on a slower progression. But by the time we get to November and December and January, everybody will be on that progression of getting to where we hit February at our pitch counts are built up. So you kind of have to work backwards is what I'm saying. Some guys have already had that time off. We don't believe in letting it rip 12 months out of the year. These guys need to take some time off and let their arms recover, let their bodies recover a little bit. So it's a total case by case, individual by individual kind of thing.
Okay, I know we're many, many months away, but closer, do you have an idea of guys who have the right kind of stuff to be able to fill that back end role? Obviously with Ryan Hammond's gone, is it kind of really wide open?
Yeah, no, I think you look at what do you need out of the closer role, right? You need a guy with tremendous stuff, tremendous command. He's got to be able to field his position because late in the game could be a close game, probably going to be a close game. It's going to be a bunt situation. So he's got to pound the zone with swing and miss stuff and be able to field his position, hold runners. So then you line up, all right, well, who performance-wise fits that category, and then who mentally can handle those clutch situations, and then you probably have a list of 4 or 5 guys, and you just think, all right, who's the toughest, best makeup competitor that in that spot. So last year, that's why Ryan Ammons was that guy, and we're like, well, we need that guy on Friday night. Let's get him pitching more, which unfortunately that didn't work out for us. But fortunately, it also gave us a huge boost later on when he came back healthy. But that's what you do. You look at what do you want out of the position, who's the best fit for that physically and mentally, and then you have guys that early in the season it may not just be one guy. It may, because of it's early in the year, you may need a couple of guys to fill those high leverage relief type moments. So we ask our guys to do that. We ask our pitchers to be able to pitch in different roles. We ask our infielders, don't get pigeonholed at second base, be able to play all the spots. Don't just play center field or left, play all the outfield spots. Because you never know. You never know when we're going to need somebody to move positions or transition over or do something, differently. And if they've never trained it or had reps at it, it might be hard in that moment in the game, but that's what, for us, again, going back to the foundation of the fall, that's what this time is a great opportunity to do as well.
So, Jimmy Overtop, do you have any idea what do you expect his role to be? Is it catcher, or is he going to play elsewhere? What do you see his role?
Yeah, Jimmy caught and played first base and DH'd for us at Michigan. I would expect he could do a combination of those three here as well. We love Jacob Jarrell and love what he was able to do last year as a freshman. So looking at him coming back, plus Jimmy coming in, there's a couple of other freshmen that have come into the program that are talented as well. But Jimmy's got credentials, and he's been on good teams. He's played in big games. He's a proven hitter, and this is a good park for him to hit in. And so I would expect, after missing the majority of last year with an injury, that he'll be ready to go this year, and he'll have to earn it. He knows it, and just because we have history and he's been on our Michigan teams doesn't guarantee anything. He knows he of all people knows he's got to come in and earn it, and we expect him that he will.
Is he talking about a good park to hit in? Why is it suit him so well? Do you
Because
think?
it's too small. That's why. Talk to Coach Bellinger. Coach Bellinger hates it. Coach Schnabel loves it. So. But I think I think when the dimensions were changed, when the bats changed, it was probably okay. And then when the balls went to flat seam balls, now it's. But we're talking about. We got some plans. We got. It's probably too early to announce our plans, but. No, it all depends on, what your preference is. We like it when there's harmony between the offense and the defense and the pitching staff. And there were just a couple of times last year when home runs were hit down the line that were the exit velo of the ball should not have been a home run. But could have been a wind-aided day or something. I don't know. But yeah, I'd like to see the dimensions get a little bit bigger.
Fall ball as a whole, I guess, just what's your overall message to the team as you guys try to grow?
Growth and improvement. It's all about growth. I mean, once you start that path, that journey on daily growth, daily improvement, there's no finish line for that, right? And so, we have go for no on some of our shirts, no finish line on other shirts, and go for no is about, getting out of your comfort zone, pushing your limits. Don't just settle for the easy yes. Go, where are you going to fail at? Let's get there and push those limits and get uncomfortable and be comfortable being uncomfortable. And once you establish those standards for yourself, there's no finish line when you're on that path, and that's kind of the goal. It's just to get better every day. So the fall is totally predicated on that.
Coach, how do you take last year's run towards the ACC championship, where you went on a tear, encapsulate the locker room, the morale of the team, and carry it into your second season?
Well, it's on one side we want to capture the momentum of all the things positive that happened. On the other side, we finished not in Omaha and not where we wanted to be. So they're both motivating factors. But then big picture, last year's team has nothing to do with this year's team. Even if every single guy returned from last year's team and we brought nobody in new, it's still a completely different team because everybody's had another birthday. Everybody's a year older, a year more mature, a year better. So it's you got to separate the two, but you also got to take the things that you did well and improve upon them, and the things you didn't do well and improve upon them as well.
Any other questions for Coach? All right, thank you.